I'm Steve. When you've been in this game as long as I have, you think you've seen it all. But the 2020s? That was different. It was a decade of pure chaos. It forged a whole new kind of market, one that's faster, more brutal than anything we could have imagined. To really get a handle on where we are today, we've got to go back. We have to understand what I call the Great Acceleration.
So let's get our bearings. The date today is Friday, March 13th, 2026. Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? What a road it's been. And get this, the S&P 500, it just closed at 6,740. If you'd told me that number back in 2020, I'd have called you crazy, absolutely nuts, but it's real. And to understand how we got here, how this number is even possible, you have to go back with me to the beginning of it all, to the moment the entire world just stopped. This whole story, it really kicks off in March of 2020. I want you to think about this for a second. For the first time in 400 years, 4 centuries of modern capitalism, the whole global economic engine just shut down, off. It was the ultimate black swan, something no computer model, no quant, nobody saw coming.
And what came next? Oh, it was a bloodbath. The fastest bear market in history. The S&P, it plunged 30% in just 22 days. It was a waterfall straight down. But here's the crazy part, the thing that really scrambled everyone's brains. By that summer, while the real world was still boarded up, the market was hitting all-time highs again. How? How is that even possible?
Well, the answer came from one man, really, Jerome Powell. He and the Fed didn't just open the playbook, they threw it out the window. They unleashed what can only be described as infinite liquidity, a fire hose of money. For the first time ever, they weren't just backstopping the banks, they were backstopping the entire corporate bond market. You know the old Fed put, that wink and a nod that they'll always step in? This was that on steroids. This was a full-throated scream to the world, we will not let this thing fail, period. And right there, that was the moment we all watched it happen. I call it the Great Divorce. The stock market completely uncoupled from the real economy. They were living in 2 different universes. Main Street was on a ventilator, and Wall Street, it was mainlining pure adrenaline, straight from the central bank. The old rules were dead. A new game was starting.
So that disconnect, it set the stage for what came next. In 2021, with the market basically floating in space, completely untethered from reality, a new army stormed the gates. A whole new generation of traders. They were stuck at home, bored, and armed with 2 things, government stimulus checks and a Robinhood account. And let me tell you, they had 0 interest in playing by the old rules.
Their barracks? A Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets. Their weapons? Stimulus checks and commission-free trading. And their battle cry? A simple, almost cult-like philosophy. Diamond hands. Hold, no matter what. And they found the perfect target. A brick-and-mortar video game store on its last legs. GameStop. A company that the Wall Street Titans had bet against. Big time. Now, their strategy wasn't just, hey, let's all buy this stock. No, it was way smarter than that. They weaponized the options market. They organized a massive, coordinated buying of call options to trigger something called a gamma squeeze. All you need to know is this. It created a vicious feedback loop. It forced the big hedge funds who were shorting the stock to become buyers at any price. It was a brilliant, tactical death spiral for their positions.
And the playbook was just genius in its simplicity. They organized right out in the open on Wall Street Bets. They identified the most vulnerable giants on the street. They turned call options into a weapon of mass destruction, and they just squeezed and squeezed until the system itself started to creak. Everyone loves the David versus Goliath story, right? Well, this time David showed up with a rocket launcher.
Look, you have to understand, this was never just about making a quick buck. This was a full-blown rebellion, an insurgency. It was a middle finger to a financial system that they believed was rigged against them. And, for the very first time, this decentralized crowd proved that they could take on the most powerful funds in the world and win. The game was never the same after that. But that kind of chaotic energy, it can't last forever. The meme stock fever eventually broke. And the market is a story machine. It always needs a new narrative. The raw, chaotic energy of the crowd, it was replaced by something much bigger, much more powerful. In late 2022, the world met generative AI. And just like that, the market had found its new god.
Think back to the 90s tech boom. What was that all about? It was about software. It was about laying down fiber optic cables. This new revolution, the one that defined the 2020s, it was built on something far more elemental, a new resource: compute. Just raw, brutal processing power. The stuff you need to bring these new artificial minds to life.
And the valuations we saw, my God, they made the dot-com bubble look quaint. But here's the kicker, the thing that made it so different this time. Unlike the Pets.com era, these companies, they had earnings. Astronomical, mind-boggling earnings to back up the hype. The market wasn't just chasing a dream. It was making a cold, hard bet on the complete automation of, well, everything.
And at the absolute epicenter of this earthquake, one company, NVIDIA, and one man, its leader, Jensen Huang. Suddenly, the entire market started to price in a single, monumental idea that AI was about to unlock the single greatest way of wealth creation in the history of the world.
Which, believe it or not, brings us right back to today. After we survived the global shutdown, the inflation that followed, the meme stock wars, here we are, standing on the edge of a completely new frontier.
That old world, the one with physical trading floors dominated by a few guys in suits, it's gone, vanished. What we have now is one single global arena. It's digital, it never sleeps, and in it, humans are trading right alongside machines that think faster than we can. Information doesn't just move fast, it moves at the speed of light.
And yet, and this is the beautiful, terrifying part, for all that's changed, the game itself is exactly the same. We went from betting on the cargo of Dutch spice ships in the 1600s to betting on the power of AI chips today. The technology is worlds apart, but the human impulse behind the bet, it's identical.
Listen, technology will always accelerate. Markets will always evolve. Empires will rise and they will fall. But there is one constant, one law of physics in this game that is unbreakable, and that is human nature. You can call it ambition, you can call it progress, but on the street we have a simpler word for it: greed.
So the game is the same. It's only the speed that's new. And believe me, it is only going to get faster from here. The real question isn't if the game will continue. The question is, what's your next move? I'm Steve. Stay sharp out there.